Welcome to the Joe Cohen Show. Join me as I share my experience with biohacking and invite top health experts to explore the latest technology, supplements, research, and resources for optimizing your body and brain. Hey everyone, I'm very excited to bring on Amitay Eshel. He is a biohacker and he's in the beauty industry. He's the CEO of Young Goose, which it makes cutting edge skincare products. I was recently on his podcast and we got along quite well. And he knows quite a lot about skin, how to improve skin health. And this is an area where I'm trying to improve now. So I've been doing as much things as I can to improve the body internally. And skin is something that I've always neglected. It wasn't something I've always taken care of. I've always had the idea that if I'm healthy on the inside, that should help on the outside, which is true. But it's always better to have extra tools, skincare products that are really good, high quality, and that help. So I have Amitay on. I'm going to have all my questions related to skin health. How can I reduce my skin aging? So yeah, I'm very excited to pick his brain on how I can improve my skin health. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Joe, you get the first prize on how to pronounce my name. You definitely did the best job out of any interview I've had.
What do they say? Amitay?
I think Amity is 50% of the
Amitay.
time.
Oh, Amitay. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, you aced it. I'll take it.
Eshel, yeah, I think I've heard both names, both parts of it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So let's. My first question for skin health is: look, I'm starting to get. I've always had wrinkles, even from an early age, right? So especially
Hmm.
if I do this, but I feel like I've got some wrinkles on my forehead, and they're not getting better as time goes on. And so I want to know, if I'm starting out, what are the things that I wanna do for, I guess for me, the 2 main things are wrinkles and maybe, like, under the eyes, you want as little bags as possible, right?
Hmm.
Because those
Yeah.
are as I see it, the 2 main signs of aging on the site. Like, over here
Yeah.
on the face, nobody's really seeing through my beard, or my cheeks are fine, I think. You're not getting wrinkles. I think even here is okay around my eyes, so I
Yeah.
don't think I have anything bad there. It's really the forehead and under the eyes, which I'd say is pretty normal or decent for my age, but it's just, how do you prevent those things from either getting worse? How do you optimize them, maybe bring them
Yeah.
back?
So actually, these are almost two different trajectories, which you could travel at the same. These are completely different, preventing and treating. But you are correct to say that these are the two major components that you'll see in the beginning. And it's very interesting. So, wrinkles in general are not a feature of, I would say, of aging as we would know it in the body. Because normally when we have a problem like NAFLD and NASH, fatty liver disease, or I don't know, any other acute aging process, normally the body understands that it's something that it needs to repair. And if you just improve your health, it stems from there. You're going to improve that. It's not really the case with a lot of the skin issues, and wrinkles are one of them because there's no inflammation associated with it. So your body has no idea it's a problem. So you need to associate inflammation with it. That's why I needed this long explanation. It's because normally when you say inflammation, normally it's not positive. But in this case specifically, although we want to lower total inflammation in the body, chronic inflammation, inflammatory load in the body, controlled inflammation, like you would have when you work out and you tear some microfibers in your, like micro tears in your muscle fiber, we also want to introduce inflammation. So you can do a few things. If you just wanted skincare products, you can use something like retinol, glycolic acid, things like that. And you can also do things like microneedling at home, dermastamping, specific modality I'd recommend there. Very similar to how people that want thicker beards or thicker hair would prick their head or their face with microneedles, because you're introducing inflammation, which the body then responds to. And we make a couple specific products that are meant to do that. So to do the signaling for repair, plus obviously supporting it from an epigenetic perspective, like making sure that your genes that are responsible for like collagen production, elastin production, hyaluronic acid production are expressed well. But that's one aspect about the puffiness, dark circles, anything like that under the eyes. It's actually skin thickness that is the culprit because the pressure around your eyes from the inside is constant. What does change, the factor that does change is the supporting structure around your eyes. So when that cannot support that pressure, or the skin is thinner, is what's underneath in air quotes. And that is so a thicker skin, which we can prevent from we can treat from the inside if we lower glycation or glycation end products, but also stimulating thicker skin is something that's going to help that.
Okay, so it's basically that the skin is too thin under the eyes, and
Yeah, and
that's
it
why
is
you're
getting
saying
thinner.
getting thinner
Mhm.
as time goes on. And
Yeah,
if you prevent glycation end products, that should help prevent the acceleration of thinning over time and more bags under the eyes.
yeah. There so I did mention retinol. The skin under the eyes is not the best, like, to use retinol on because retinol, it's a very sensitive skin. So you actually wanna introduce it extremely slowly, probably putting on like your normal facial cream or specific eye cream first, and then applying a little bit of retinol and really getting the skin used to it. So you get really a much longer, more delicate introduction over time. What I would say to all of that, something that definitely is important from the inside when you're trying to have any kind of collagen-based reaction, it to have is high levels of vitamin C as you can have in
So
your body.
vitamin C internally is going to help with the bags under the eyes.
Yeah, because vitamin C is a cofactor for collagen production. Just remember scurvy. Scurvy is obviously a lack of vitamin C. The reason what scurvy is a connective tissue disorder. So
Mhm. Oh,
your body needs vitamin C to create collagen effectively.
is it what's the main rate limiting factor for collagen production in your opinion? Is it vitamin C or is it glycine or what is the rate limiting
Mitochondrial
factor? And by the
dysfunction.
way, mitochondrial dysfunction is
Mhm,
a rate limiting factor for collagen.
because it the more dysfunctional your mitochondria is, the more oxidative stress is associated with energy production. And oxidative stress is the main factor for skin aging in general.
Okay. And so how does the oxidative stress, let's break it into two different components, the forehead and the bags under the eyes. How does oxidative stress make the skin more thin under the eyes? Is there a relation there?
Yeah. So actually, that's very, this can we can break down oxidative stress even to another two components, which is a short term component, which is positive, and a lingering long-term component, which is definitely negative. So in the short term, the movement of reactive oxygen species just by the creation of energy, damage, repair, all of those things is actually a signal for repair. So it's overall a positive thing, especially that we said one of the problems with skin as a whole is that we don't get effective signal for repair as time goes on. So I just want to, that's like a caveat there that not all oxidative stress is bad, and I think it could
Chronic
be
oxidative
confusing.
stress is bad.
You got it. Chronic,
Okay.
c- accumulated, mishandled oxidative stress is bad. And this is something that will damage anything from your DNA. Okay. Again, I'm sure you talk a lot about your DNA or genes, but I'm sure you've had many people talking about the expression of those genes also over time, what we call epigenetics. Oxidative stress changes epigenetics. It also damages DNA. So it damages the actual ability to retrieve the correct information on how to create collagen or how does the function of skin cells should look like. And then on the other end of it, it also contributes to chronic inflammation. So it drives inflammation, drives cellular death, depletes telomere length, which is needed to support renewal. So it basically is the driver of, it's like the rust in an engine, if you would. So,
Mhm.
so the rust, if you could think about, which by the way is a reaction of oxygen, by the way, is something that if we have a little bit of rust in our engine and we see it, we know as a mechanic, let's say, where our engine doesn't have enough oil or whatever that is. So it can actually be a signal for me as a mechanic, although I'm not a mechanic, I'm a horrible mechanic, where I should address some of the issues of the engine. But if we have chronic rust, something that I cannot treat, that just propagates throughout the system, that system is going to not only not function correctly, not only have like mechanical issues in functioning, but it's going to break down. If you think it's going to change forever, like it's something that you cannot, if you buy an old car and it has rust, this piece needs to now go and you need to completely replace it. So really oxidative stress, you can look at it as the rust in your system.
And so how is that related to the bags under your eyes or the
Okay.
wrinkle on your forehead?
So bags under the eyes is again thinning of the skin, and that can happen from a few things, but the most basic fundamental thing is the skin cannot support enough renewal, and the amount of tissue that you have just reduces. There are many, about
So is that
12
a
different.
collagen issue?
It's more of it's a collagen, elastin, and something called lumicans. Lumican, by the way, LUM is a specific. There is a gene dedicated to lumicans, and these are the brick layers. If collagen is your bricks, this is the brick layer. So you can imagine if you don't have enough brick layers, and tissue goes south, there's not enough ability to repair, even if you had enough collagen. So it's not a that's why when you said glycine, or just let's say we had all the components for collagen, which are a little bit more complex than just glycine, you still will not have the ability to act on that, especially again, if you don't have enough omega-3 fatty acids, if you don't have enough vitamin C. So that's one thing. As far as like skin thinning, and you can understand, I think, how it also relates to wrinkles. Now, wrinkles, within the same parameters, it also has the function of movement. So, unfortunately, the more you grease the groove, the more groove there is to grease. So, the more you move your face, the more your face will move in a predictable fashion, because the skin is just easier to bend where you already have a wrinkle. There is less there's less material there, so it'll bend more easily. So there's more. You're literally, it's like playing with rubber. It'll bend. It'll create. You're going to create cracks, and this is going to bend specifically there because the rubber has an easier time bending there. It's going to go to the most loose link in the chain. So one of the things that happens is that we can support the skin with whatever we want, but if we already have a wrinkle, we almost need to make sure that we treat that wrinkle and make the skin there as robust as surrounding tissue if we want to stop this cascade. There are a few other strategies you could employ. One of them are topical peptides. That's one of the, almost, I'd say, the only effective things you can do with topical peptides is using neural peptides that exhaust the nerves specifically there. So you could think of Botox. It's not like Botox, but it's similar in a way where nerves cannot fire in the same predictable over and over again. So you get less accumulation.
Okay. So let's take a look back at a few
Hmm.
things. So there's the collagen, there's the oxidative stress, there's just having the structure of a wrinkle, right?
Hmm.
So let's try to break down each one, right? So for collagen, you think the best thing is just vitamin C.
Yes, this is to support. Remember, we are moving in two trajectories at the same time, but vitamin C would be the best nourishment you can have in order to support collagen production. Because we're dealing also with oxidative stress as a component, I would recommend a vitamin C that is a more whole vitamin C. So ascorbic acid, which we most of us know as vitamin C, is a very it's like when you have CBD, you have isolate and full spectrum. So ascorbic acid is a very small part of what a vitamin C molecule is in nature. So it doesn't perform as robust function as other forms of vitamin C. So you want to look at a vitamin C that has some kind of mineral attached to it, sodium ascorbate, calcium ascorbate, etc. So most like good supplements are going to have one of those version. In skincare, you can look at like magnesium ascorbyl phosphates or THD ascorbate, which are the two that we use, and I recommend. They're significantly more expensive than ascorbic acid, so you see them less. But this is as far as like vitamin C.
What's the difference? Why is it better if it's attached to a mineral?
That actually, for a few reasons, but this is required for the vitamin C to be active in your body. So if it's not attached to a mineral, it actually becomes in quantities that we actually want and not very small quantities, it actually becomes pro-oxidative. And that's why mentioned before the oxidative stress capacity. So it flips from being a scavenger of oxidative stress to becoming excitatory to iron and things like that. And that can actually, again, go back and damage your DNA.
And what's the level there? What dose of vitamin C will it turn into pro-oxidative stress?
Basically, it's hard to correlate it because, again, we have like different body types and things like that. But within 2 hours, more than half a gram of ascorbic acid is going to become pro-oxidative. So if we're taking a gram, if we take 2 grams, which is what we want, kind of want in the body circulating every 2 hours, even some people take 10 grams, right? If they do an IV, that is not really good for you. Or it has some benefits, but it also has a lot of drawbacks. So you really want a form that is already in air quotes active. It's funny to say because there's no such thing, but as a cofactor for your body to use it, it needs.
Okay.
There are
And
other
does it
factors there, by
attach
the
to
way, but
minerals in the gut or in your blood? Or
in cyto, so
yeah,
locally, which means in the tissue that you want it to be active. But most of it, if you are taking it orally, most of it's going to be in the gut. Even if you did it sublingually, most of it is still going to your gut.
is your gut gonna break it down into the ascorbic acid and the mineral when it's in
Mhm.
your gut?
No, it will still be associated with that mineral for the most part. Again, your gut normally doesn't like to keep things whole. A lot of it is going to be absorbed through your intestine to your bloodstream as that complex. And even if not, then you're getting a good ratio of that mineral to vitamin C. So you cannot absorb too much at once, or you cannot get stomach irritation or things like that are associated with vitamin C
Okay.
in case you are taking them together. So that's
So
another thing. It could be a little bit like of a slow release type mechanism if you are taking a large amount.
so would it be the buffered the one that's connected to a mineral, like the buffered one? Is that what it is, or it's just different?
Buffered is Buffering is a technique, so it could be you could buffer it from in a few mechanisms, but buffered vitamin C would be one of them. But normally, what you want to look at is the name of a molecule, magnesium or sodium or calcium ascorbate.
Okay. So, yeah, I actually didn't know that. I just take regular vitamin C, and I
Hmm.
do like, I started putting vitamin C in my water,
Hmm.
and I just sip it over the day because you can't absorb that much in one shot anyway.
Yeah, that's why I said. So it's not only that you cannot absorb, you're going to
You're
start
not
to get.
utilizing it. Yeah.
You're also going to start to get acidic. Ascorbic acid is also slightly acidic. So if you did get a lot of it at once, there is also gut irritation involved. Versions that have a mineral attached to them are normally pH neutral, so they are non-acidic. So you can not only that you can take more, a lot of it that is going to be broken down will take longer to be broken down. So you're mitigating some of that irritation as well.
I see. I also do a slow release one. So I take
That is a type of buffering. Yeah.
Oh, it is the slow release?
Yeah. Yeah. So buffering can happen in two mechanisms. One is a chemical bond, but another is a coating. So it's not one of the same. You'll know it from niacin.
Right.
If you think of like designs for health, they have a basically a slow release niacin, right? So to mitigate some of the flush. I don't know if
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
ever
I've
seen it.
I've taken
So if you
I
look at
take a slow release.
great, fantastic. So if you look at the capsule, it has a shiny overlay over it, and that is just to
Mhm.
make it semi-permeable, so you can get less of the material at once. That's a type of buffering. Another type of buffering would be a chemical bond, which your body needs to break down, and that's why it would be slow release. That happens in a lot of drugs, a lot of opiates and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it's interesting with vitamin C, my serum levels are not they're like, I would say, like, below the 50th percentile, or, like, they're not high, and that's even with me taking vitamin C, so I wonder why my serum levels are just lower, and so, that's why I'm now just taking water throughout the day with vitamin C. I'm
Mhm.
taking 1,500 milligrams, 500 milligrams slow release each meal, and then 1,000 milligrams in each bottle of water that
When
is
did you
let's
get
see,
it
how big
measured?
is this? Where?
Are you no, are you is this from multiple reads or from one specific read? One specific
Multiple
lab?
reads.
Okay. Because you have prior knowledge that you had some infections, obviously it would account to some of it.
So that's yeah, I agree. That's what I was thinking,
I'll
but
give
I
you
did
another
have
one.
multiple reads.
I'll give you another one,
Yeah,
which by the way is also difficult because you equated it to the population, which is very difficult to assess. But you live in Tel Aviv.
okay.
So that's something actually very important as far as skin health to know. We'll tie it into what we're just saying, which is pollution and cigarette smoke, which you cannot avoid in Tel Aviv, and any type of like carbon dioxide, any type of smoke really, zero, but basically drops vitamin C dramatically and glutathione, but less actually. Vitamin C more because vitamin C is actually a more versatile antioxidant than glutathione. And in general, pollution or non oxygen based free radicals, carbon, nitrogen, are not natural in the environment that we evolved within. So your body doesn't really have an innate mechanism to fight that. And that's the first thing you said when you did the little intro is my paradigm was that you could treat yourself well from the inside and your skin health is going to be maintained. The couple problems with it is that past your I'm sure you're gonna we talk about it, like past your reproductive prime, that's not a big issue. Your skin doesn't need to communicate vitality. But the main issue is that you're living in a world where your innate systems, the checks and balances, redundancies, etc., are not meant to deal with those external aggressors that are not innate. But having said that, so I am I would do a test where I take, for example, something like C60 and see how it improves my vitamin C levels and see if it does improve my vitamin C levels. Because it is so one of the
Interesting.
features of C60 is that it can actually combat some of those other non-oxygen based free radicals.
Yeah, it's something that I'm gonna be testing more. I tested it twice, and both
Mhm.
times it wasn't low. It wasn't low on the medical test. It was just like lower than
Suboptimal.
the 50th percentile. Yeah, it was suboptimal. And that was the second time was with me, or maybe even the first time. I think both times it was with me taking I think one time I was taking less and then I started taking more, 1,500 milligrams. I was taking it 3 times a day, 500 milligrams, and it went up a little bit, but still not where I'd want it to be. And
Yeah.
so now I added a gram of
Okay.
regular ascorbic
Now
acid
we're
in my
gonna
water bottle. Yeah.
so now that we said all of that, now I'm gonna tell you the problem with testing it in blood serum levels is that it is a read it's a read of the last 2 hours of your consumption. So,
Right. So if I'm taking it fasted, I'm not
uh-huh.
taking in vitamin.
So it's we don't know enough to understand what it means about tissue vitamin C. Again, we did a lot of studies in the Weizmann Institute 7, 8 years back, which is, I call it the Israeli MIT, but to people who don't know what the Weizmann Institute is, but it's reputable. And we were trying to create a transdermal NAD precursor cream. That's what we tried to do. We didn't try to create a skincare product. And we had an extremely hard time equating it to an IV, which is the control that we had in one of the studies. And what we found out is that the problem was is that muscle did take some of that NAD, did absorb is a funny word, but it did usher in muscle tissue, did usher in some of those NAD molecules to a certain extent. So part of our challenge was to equate it to something that the body does interact with quite quickly. So what you're doing is we can even think of the evolution in tests of something we did mention already, omega-3 fatty acids. What is the evolution there? By the way, Dutch test for glucose is another example as an evolution. We're trying to evolve our testing to make sure that we're congruent with the function of the body. So the testing, all of that to say, testing vitamin C in the blood is not a complete test. It's a biopsy. Obviously, would be much better, and testing it in the skin, for example. Expression of carotenoids, even in your skin, would be, I would say, even a better inference to the amount of vitamin C that you have, even though it's not a like there's no direct correlation, but the more they can survive and propagate in the outer layer of your skin, the better we understand it. You have an antioxidant response in your skin.
Interesting. Okay. There are some studies on serum levels and all-cause mortality. So there's definitely something
Yeah.
to the serum levels, but
hmm
you're saying that it's not really you can't equate it to what's in the muscles or tissues or whatever,
Yeah,
skin.
I think these should be significantly expanded and looking at outliers. Why were there outliers? What are we missing there? There are studies, but the studies are not looking at, I would say, at different, again, by the way, different tendencies with the different variables such as activity levels, things like that. There is a lot there to expand on.
I guess I'm also taking these vitamin C tests in India, which has a lot of pollution.
Yeah,
So
I remember there is a study from Germany where they needed to, basically they wanted to look at the red light and its effect on oxidative stress, but they couldn't do it as well in Germany because it wasn't polluted enough. So they sent people to Cairo,
mm.
which is very polluted. So yeah, definitely we're taking them literally the worst time in air quotes for you.
Okay, so let's go back to are there any lab tests you do to measure how somebody
We're
would respond to different things?
we're literally working on it. Like we have invested in basically a development of a metabolomic panel that will then infer which products you need, also track progress, or because we could do before and after imaging is very difficult. Light can change the appearance of your skin by 10 years. It's very hard to control. So when you see any before and after from a company, from a dermatologist, from whatever, any differences in light, we can play before and after right now, change the light, and you'll see
Right.
incredible results. Yeah, so that we're working on something that is significantly more impactful. There are companies who do, by the way, genetic testing. It's just missing a component of epigenetics and real-time data, and that's why we've decided on metabolomics.
What kind of genetic testing?
Not very good, but they're looking at tendencies, expressions and tendencies in variations of collagen genes like COL1A1 genes. Actually, it's a good rabbit hole to go down, but they couldn't prove correlation between them and their products. They are training on that. Like there are estheticians who are licensed by them, but there's no proof that they can improve skin because of it.
Yeah, the type of chip we have and what we're doing, we could do any of these genetic
Mhm.
tests or look at any variants that we want. That's not the issue. The problem is there's no validation for it. So it's like for a lot of these things, we would just be making stuff up.
You'll be let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. You won't be making stuff up, but you will be overreaching. So it will be risk of. It'd be like risk
Right.
of collagen degradation as time goes on. Hyaluronic acid, again, like elastin.
They
Yeah.
don't have enough data on these things. I feel
No,
like this is very granular. They meaning like
very.
we have a report on tendency to facial wrinkles or whatever. At least there's more data on a broader topic. So we have a bunch of skin topics, but when you're going into like tendency to collagen breakdown in the skin, that's very granular, and
I
I doubt that there's a lot
I'll
of
give
data
you an
on it.
example. I'll give you an example.
If
I'll give
there
you a
is, we'll
great
do a
example.
report on it, by the way. If
Well,
you find any studies, by the way, send it my way and we'll create a report on it. Create a report is not a hard thing to do as long as there's the data there.
yeah, but also could I think allowing people to upload their that genetic metabolomic test that we have to your system, there's no obligation to buy our products after you did this test. So you could just take the test and let's say you live in, I don't know, Turkey and the products are not there, or Israel, our products are not there yet. They're going to be, but they're not there yet. You could then say, oh, they're recommending this because of those ingredients, and just go ahead and look for those ingredients or try to get them from food. Spermidine would be one
What
of
are
them.
you
So
what are you testing in the metabolites? Spermidine?
yeah, we're testing 17 metabolites. The reason spermidine popped up is something that we've literally invested ungodly amount of money to get into a product that we actually are the first skincare company that has it topically because of the understanding that this is a very predictive metabolite for skin renewal. So any renewal process needs recycling attached to it. Autophagy is important. Anything from adenosine, taurine, glutathione, 17 different metabolites.
Okay.
Spermidine is also the hardest one to measure because the test is predicated on sensitivity. So if something is, just think of you getting into a dark room, your ability to see is predicated on nothing there, no lamp being very bright, right? So spermidine is actually the opposite. It's actually darker, but we're going to think of it as bright. So it really skews the ability for sensitivity of the test. And that is why, by the way, we are only testing 17 metabolites, which is completely different than having a
17 or 70?
17.
17.
That's why
Okay.
it's a difference between being a scammy company that tests 5 gene variants or 5 genes and testing a limited amount of metabolites, because less metabolites allows you for more specificity, for more nuance, for more accuracy, whereas there's no such thing with your sequencing.
Yeah, that's a very different ball game. A
Mhm.
metabolite is basically like a individual lab test. It's like you're checking
Yeah.
vitamin C. It's like a lab panel, which is
Mhm.
different than your genetics because there's way more data in the genetics. So if the gene company tests 17 variants, it's time to move on. But for a lab panel, that's pretty good.
Yeah. But it is derived off of a test that tests 6. So we've chosen to continue to reduce, and doesn't cost less, by the way. Just to bear in mind, there's no discrepancy in cost there. It is literally just to really dial in what we are interested in and can then recommend products accordingly or recommend strategies.
See, is it's testing glutathione as well, you mentioned?
Yeah, it's testing. I don't remember if it tests glutathione or the ability to make glutathione. We're actually having a meeting next week to see advancements in that. So I'll be smarter next week. But one of the things that we are very excited about is inferring renewal ability, which is super important. But as far as glutathione, I actually don't remember if it tests specifically glutathione or actually, I don't remember.
Okay,
I'll let you know.
no worries. What about a
I think it does
spermidine
though.
supplement?
That's a great question because it definitely, so some things that you will take have almost no effect on your skin health. One of them, by the way, is NAD precursors. And that is because NAD precursors are past 30, but really past, as we get to 50, 60, they're needed. They're you're deficient in any place that they visit. In any so if you took them orally, they're very like your liver is extremely deficient, especially if you drink alcohol and stuff like that. So the liver, since it's the first place it passes, will keep 95%. And then 5%, and by the way, that's a pretty famous study on NR, but 5% is going to go everywhere else, preferential absorption in like brain, heart, muscle tissue. So none of it's going to go to your skin. Spermidine, on the other hand, is working very differently. It also interacts in some ways with your microbiome in the gut, which we don't really understand 100%, but it does have systemic effects. So it is well documented that it helps hair, skin, and nails. Within that, it is still the combination of the two. And that's something we're researching right now. And we're seeing very interesting results, very good results, is the combination of the two, especially as a protocol where you're taking very high dosage, a loading dose for the first month or two, and then a maintenance dose, which is about a third of it, plus applying spermidine daily on your skin. The results are pretty impressive. By the way, when I say applying spermidine or taking spermidine, the reference I made before to a full spectrum rather than a narrow band of of introduction, which in spermidine would be only spermidine and not the full polyamine complex, which is spermine, putrescine, as far as that is concerned, is also problematic. It doesn't cause the same effects. So I'm going to repeat what I said, maybe in a more clear way. You need a complex of spermidine that also has other polyamines, putrescine and spermine, because they can be metabolized at the same time and are absorbed at the same time. So you're getting a better absorption. Yeah.
Okay, so increasing spermidine internally is going to help the skin, you think?
Yes. Yes. 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
It's documented.
All right. And what's the best way to do that to increase spermidine? Is it through taking a chlorella supplement? Is it through spermidine? What's that? Try something, whatever. There's a certain type that's like an isolated version.
Uh-huh.
Then there's, or you could take ornithine, should increase spermidine.
Yes. You could also take a few other things. So you could take a spermidine supplement. I don't know what's available per country. It's
Wheat,
quite
there's the
different in
wheat
Europe.
germ also. Yeah.
Yes, wheat germ derived is the easiest to get high quality spermidine from. There's since it's in such small quantity in wheat germ or in chlorella, you're running a risk of a lot of contamination. And you're also, because of that, a company that would provide it, they it's difficult. The reason I would choose algae derived is because if you're very sensitive to gluten, which obviously it's going to be an issue with them.
Yeah, I tried the wheat germ one. I guess I
Hmm.
didn't try. I tried one that was more extracted, which I think was
Hmm.
okay. I tried the pure wheat germ, and that was not good for me.
So
Right?
you
That was
tried
it
just
was too
taking
many. Yeah,
legit wheat germ.
yeah, and I got
Okay,
like
so
brain fog from it.
I have, I'm sure you did. By the way, the ratio would be like 1300 to 2. So you the ratio of spermidine in wheat germ is 1300 to 2. And then depends also on the wheat germ where it comes from, blah blah blah, but like really good wheat germ. So what you're taking is it's like trying to drink red wine to get resveratrol.
You could take 10 grams of wheat germ, 20 grams of wheat germ, and let's say 13 grams. Then you'll
Mhm.
get 2 milligrams of spermidine. Right? Is it what you said,
Yeah.
1,300 to 2? So 13 grams of wheat
Yeah,
germ,
but
which is not hard to
that's
do.
a lot of wheat germ.
Yeah, that's why I got some brain fire,
Yeah, I'm
but
saying
13
you
grams,
could,
I think I took 30 grams of wheat germ.
you could, but that is, by the way, that's what I'm talking about. And that's not spermidine, that's polyamines. So the actual
Mhm.
spermidine within is lower, which is fine. I recommend taking a polyamine blend, but that's another reference point for you. But I agree with you that an extract would be better, but it's still food derived. What I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to recommend is synthetic spermidine because it
There's
doesn't seem to move the needle as well.
Oh, interesting. I tried the synthetic spermidine and I seem to have weird effects from it. I don't know. I forgot, like, it just seemed to cause weird effects, and I just, I don't want to take this. Like, I did a mega dosing experiment on it, and I took, they sell it in 10 milligrams. I forgot the exact form. It's spermidine tetrachloride or something. I don't know what it is, but I took 30 milligrams of it. Just felt weird. I
Yeah.
forgot exactly what it was, but yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are actually not reacting very well to IVs of it. And actually, you're not supposed to, just a small caveat, you're not supposed to have it in the IV bag for very long because apparently it can
Mhm.
melt the plastic. Look, I would that's that when I recommend spermidine, it's a very hard conversation to get into to make sure people take food derived and take a kind of polyamine blend complex rather than
So,
only spermidine.
do you take spermidine
Yeah,
yourself? What do you take?
I take it orally and I apply it topically, both.
What do you take though orally? Is it like a wheat germ extract?
Yeah. I take a brand called Spermidine Life, or the company is called Longevity Labs. This is my favorite
Oh,
version.
I've taken that one.
This is my favorite version, and it's also the company that we've decided. And again, we put our money where our mouth is. This is the company we've decided to work with, to collaborate with, to use. That's their spermidine we use in our product. It's not granted. It's designed specifically for topical absorption. So there are some. It is different than the complex you're going to take orally, but
Okay. Yeah, I've tried this one. I think I like the effect of this one.
yeah. And at the end of the day, you want to know company treats their product well. That's part of the problem with spermidine, that it does have omega-6 fatty acids within the complex. So not a lot, but still, you don't want it to get oxidized. You don't want it to coagulate. So you want to have a company that treats their product well. That's one of the prerequisites in my eyes. Two companies that I like, I prefer Spermidine Life. That's my choice. But another company, which is more popular in the UK, for example, is called Primidine.
I've taken that one as well.
And they also have
That's
a
from the
gluten-free
chlorella,
version.
right?
They
Yeah,
have
they have,
they
they
do
have the, yeah.
their normal one is from wheat germ, and then they have chlorella. Both of those companies, by the way, they use heirloom wheat that's supposed to have less less negative impact due to whether it is specific irritants, like specific, because it's not only gluten. You can be allergic to wheat germ, like you can be allergic to other parts of wheat. So they tend to have less of that, less gluten, and I think Primidine is produced in I want to say in Japan, and Spermidine Life is produced in Austria, and they source it from very good wheat germ.
Okay, so let's move on. I want to try to get a good overview of, I come to you, what do I need to do? Give me the basics. What do I need to do for my skin? I'm
Yeah,
taking
so
vitamin C. What do I need? What kind of creams do I need? What are the essential ingredients that are needed?
mhm, okay.
What are the musts?
The must is, again, and we're dealing with someone that wants to get results. The musts are as followed. You need to use a cleanser that provides protection from what is called now, people are going to start hearing it more and more, sticky skin. Sticky skin is skin that accumulates pollutants. And so cleanser that has algae extracts or things that build a kind of buffer between skin cells and those pollutants and don't let them attach. We recommend adaptogenic cleanser, which is a cleanser that we have, but just look for algae extract. That's the algae extract that they use in cleansers. There is no other ones, to my knowledge. Then I'd highly recommend a non-ascorbic acid vitamin C serum. Because ascorbic acid needs to be at very high percentage to work, You'll see like things like 10, 20%. As THD ascorbate or MAP, magnesium ascorbyl phosphate, which are the two ingredients that I recommend, they can be between 2 to 5%, and they're going to be very effective there. So at 3% of THD is equivalent to 18% ascorbic acid in
Okay.
effects. So that's that. Again, we recommend a product called ProCare, which is a serum. It actually is designed to eliminate senescent cells, but it also has vitamin C as part of it.
Of the skincare products on the market, do you think are crap? Like 99%, 90?
Yes, probably 99%. And the reason is this: a company that is designed to create a lot of profits needs to have a product sitting on a shelf for a very long amount of time. Let's take a company like The Ordinary, which everyone knows, and it's actually a pretty interesting, it's a pretty good company because they at least provide good information. But The Ordinary creates 5 million units at once, not 500, right? So they need a product that, first of all, they need to create a lot of product at once. It needs to move around a lot, needs to go to Israel, needs to go to China, needs to go to the United States, etc. Europe, it needs to travel. It's going to travel through very different conditions, hot, cold, whatever. It's going to sit on a shelf for a very long time. And because they need to provide you a very low price point, they also buy ingredients that sat on shelves of the raw ingredients are older raw ingredients. So
Okay.
they buy the lowest cost of raw ingredients. They also, so that's number one. And then they have ingredients that sat on shelves as a combined formula for a very long time, for up to 5 years combined. So these are products that are very diluted. They're high in preservatives, and they are probably inactive at this point. So there is a big
Okay,
company.
so
Yeah.
I wanna go through a product and you tell me what is wrong with this product, let's say,
All right.
right? And,
That's a good
for
segment.
everybody listening, obviously, like, Amitai sells the Young Goose, so I'm assuming that's a great product. I haven't tried it on myself, but I'm assuming it's a great product because he really knows what is going on and he's a genuine person. So if anybody, is just wants to try something out, I would recommend trying that out, which is what I'm going to be doing. But I'm just curious of going, okay, how is this different than Eucerin? I'll just you somewhere on IRB Amazon, you buy this Eucerin cream. It says anti-wrinkle. It's got water, glycerin, ethyl hexyl cocoate, hydrogenated cocoa glycerides. Take me through it. Should I list the
So,
ingredients and you're going to be
so
like,
by now you
yeah,
didn't mention any active ingredients, but
okay.
you can
So let
please
me
continue.
continue.
Yeah,
Settle out caprylic, capric,
that's an
triglyceride.
MCT. That's basically MCT.
Okay. Does that
hmm
help with the skin?
No, yeah, it's not bad. It's an MCT oil. It's a medium chain
Okay.
triglyceride, but it's not an active ingredient.
Okay. Deuterospermum parkii, that's shea butter. Okay.
Yeah, shea butter.
Does that help with the skin?
Not as much as people think. Oils are actually not good hydrators for the long run. And that is because your skin doesn't receive hydration from the outside. It's not built for it. It is
Okay.
built to get hydration from the inside, from your bloodstream. And for the most part, if they're good, they're going to build a block to prevent water escaping the skin. This is called
Got it.
transepidermal water loss. But again, it's for skin conditioning. The skin will bend better, but there's no benefits, anti-aging benefits.
Okay. So let's keep going.
By the way, you've
We've got,
mentioned a lot of ingredients that require extreme amounts of concentrations for them to be in a product, and you didn't mention an active ingredient. And the way that ingredient lists work is whatever comes sooner is higher in concentration. So
right.
we already understand
Glycerin
that
is not good for your skin?
it's good,
Or
but
I mean, yeah.
it's not a it's good as a passive ingredient. It maintains the bending of the skin in a positive way, but it does not give the skin any benefits, the cells any benefits. On a
Okay, what about
cellular level, it's
ubiquinone?
ubiquinone is CoQ10. It's
Right,
good.
is
It's
that
very good. Yeah.
okay? So it's got we're at ubiquinone. It's got vitamin C, vitamin E, tocopherol acetate.
Yeah. That's it. So tocopherol acetate is getting a bad rap in orally, but it's a better
Okay.
version of vitamin E for your skin.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
It's got some biotin. Is that useful?
No. Unless you
Okay,
want a
only if you're
beard.
okay. Oh, you're saying just it's gonna help you grow hair. Okay.
Yeah.
Biosaccharide gum 1.
That's not that's to keep stuff together.
Okay, so it's just a filler. Sodium ascorbyl phosphate. Oh,
That's a good
that's
yeah.
a vitamin C form you just
Yeah, it's a good vitamin C form. It
okay.
being so low on the list seems to me like it's less than 1%, but I like the fact that they have it there. Very good. It's also an expensive vitamin C, so I understand why it would be low on the list.
Okay, I see what you're saying here. So most it's really not gonna be
There's very little
it's just
actives
not
on.
any right. There's very little things that are really going to correct
Yeah,
the damage.
but I think it's cool to see what we have here because we have a lot of skin conditioning ingredients, which would make you feel the user experience is the thing that they aim for. That's
Okay.
great. They did a great job there. They also tried to give you mitochondrial benefits with CoQ10.
Mm,
That's great. By the way, Nivea is the one that had that released a lot of studies on CoQ10. Thank you, Nivea. Now, they also tried to attach vitamin C to it, but vitamin C was there as again supposed to be the thing that will signal repair. It's not very good at signaling repair. It's good at supporting repair. It also is good to curb uneven pigment expression for pigmentation, but you don't, it's not, there's nothing there that will communicate to the skin, hey, please let's repair. So the anti-aging effects there are little to none,
okay. So let's
but
go
great, yeah,
through
great user experience.
okay. Do you have any opinion on I'm assuming you do hydrating cleansers?
It
Do you are you in
it doesn't
favor
work like
or
that. No.
irrelevant?
The hydrating cleansers can be like three different forms. The first form is if it has glycolic acid or any type of AHA, alpha hydroxy acid, or BHA, beta hydroxy acid, lactic acid, glycolic
Mhm.
pyruvic acid,
Right.
salicylic acid. They're fine, but they're too harsh to be used on a regular basis, especially as you grow older. For a teenager with acne, that's fine.
This
Hard.
one this one doesn't have that in particular. It's got I'm curious. So you're saying that if they have any harsh cleansers, you don't want to use it continuously. This one
Mhm.
has water, glycerin, cocoa betaine, cocoa glucoside, glycerol glucoside, acrylates, sodium hyaluronic acid, essentially
Yeah.
trisodium EDTA, sodium chloride, sodium benzoate. These are the other ingredients.
But it seems to me like it's just so a cleanser. Let's just any cleanser is based on oils. Okay, the cleansers are oil based. Like soap is oil based to begin with,
Okay.
but there is no such thing really as a hydrating cleanser that also cleanses very well. We just need to prevent the stripping of oils from the skin. Good oils. Doesn't really exist. This
Mhm.
amazing
So
combination
what
of
do you do for cleansing? You just wash your face or what do you
you
recommend?
wash your face. You can use a cleanser like the one that we have that's called adaptogenic cleanser. But the reason we really have it is for two reasons. It's a gentle cleanser that will strip away dirt without stripping away natural oils. But the other part of it is, again, fortifying your skin against like, environmental aggressors, pollution. And it also eliminates something called CD38. CD38 is what lowers NAD in the body. It's the enzyme that it's like NAD Pac-Man, I call it. So and it
Right.
raises with age. So it eliminates CD38. That is why you will have a inactive ingredient in the cleanser, but nothing that you are expecting the skin to actually absorb and keep. That's not the you're washing it off.
So what are you washing? What are these ingredients that you're using to wash the skin?
We use coconut derivatives to wash the skin. The way that they work is they actually attach to dirt and they absorb the dirt. That's why you need to keep it on
Mhm.
the skin for at least 10 seconds. and then you wash it off. For the most part, older cleansers are going to be using ingredients which also change pH because it also cleans the skin. And the problem there is that it damages your skin barrier. So that cleansers that change pH is something that we really don't want to do.
So those are the ones with the acids in there?
The acids or sulfates,
Okay. So the ones with acids, they're you also meant for acne. It's to take
yeah,
dirt away, to
they're
take
meant
the
to.
oil away so that you don't get the
Yeah,
acne.
they're relying on the fact that you are overproducing oils. So they're going to allow themselves to strip more of that oil away. And that's fine. But long term, we need to treat the major drivers of that that overexpression of sebum of oils, whether it is internal like gut health, number one, and then also create a better balance in your skin. We found that a lilac derivative that we used initially to mimic the effects of metformin in the skin does that very well. Balances the expression of sebum.
Okay, interesting. And okay, so we've got the skin cleansers, and so you recommend that you put on people use a skin cleanser, wash away the dirt, essentially?
Mhm. Wash away the dirt. A serum actually, then you should use a serum. A serum actually gives your routine a direction. That is how you choose the direction of your routine. So if you're interested in again like some the appearance of age, the reversal of it, use a serum that aims to do that. If you care about pigmentation, use a serum for that. If you care about again oil production and you want to minimize that, use a serum for that.
So there's personalization with the skin also. You gotta
That is
see
how
what
you
your
do it.
skin type is. Okay.
You do
You
it
gotta
with
see
your
what
serum.
the issue is. Okay.
Yes.
And
S
what do you think of, let's say, Brian Johnson's skin regimen?
Brian Johnson, look, I don't wanna take credit, but Brian Johnson just posted a video saying, "We bought this radio frequency device, but we heard that it might, damage fat and might cause scarring in the skin, so we're not using it for now." And it's funny, that's a lot of what I talk about, so I hope it's because of me, but I'm not gonna take credit for it. Brian Johnson is doing something that I would not do, which is he is measuring skin optimal performance as the measurement of success. So he's measuring how the wrinkle depth right now and reduction of pigmentation right now as the only factor in how healthy his skin is. The problem with that is that you're calling on reservoirs that are going to be needed later on in life. Meaning, every time we ask our skin to to turn over, it's called to basically split skin cells to split, we're losing something. We're losing telomere length. We're creating free radicals. We're losing thickness for the long run. We're creating mistakes. There is a direct correlation between the amount, the tissues that turn over faster have more senescent cells.
Mm.
Cells within those tissues that turn over faster have more senescent cells. So senescent cells is obviously a big factor of skin aging and aging in general in the body. So he is taking one of the pillars, which is optimal performance or performance right now, while neglecting two other pillars, which is robustness or ability to handle damage for the long run and longevity, reservoirs we're going to need later. But that's what he wants to do. He obviously is a guy that really cares about getting his money's worth, or not money, but the getting what he results for the effort that he puts in. So I don't know if he could do it any other way. He could, but that would be extrapolating on markers. So the same way, if you cared about your arterial health, you only cared about right now, you would have completely different measurements than if you try to extrapolate arterial health in 10 years.
Mhm. What about the sun? Do you think that's a big problem for the skin,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. It's a
you
big
do?
problem. Again, we're taking something that could be positive or negative, and we're trying to to give a blanket statement. The sun is needed to create vitamin D. That is correct. Yes, that's correct. The fact that we are creatures that not only that we evolved to stay out of the sun when it's in zenith, when it's over our head, and be out in the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, we also are, you, me, anyone that doesn't have that their skin genetics are not specifically from like sub-Saharan Africa.
Mm.
We evolved to be in climates that have sun deficiency. So asking me, you live in Israel, I live in Florida, and asking what about the sun is a little bit misleading. I see people online talking about solar callus, and that's BS. The only solar callus you have is due to melanin. They blame another expression of an acid called UCA, but UCA absorbs UVC that you're not really getting from the sun. It gets absorbed in the atmosphere. So the amount that you can adapt through non-melanin adaptations is extremely small. There isn't such a thing as keeping my skin tone. By the way, and balance of skin, like no pigmentation, stuff like that, and being a lot in the sun. There is no such thing as not getting DNA damage.
So what's your protocol? How long are you in the sun for? And do you always wear sunscreen?
Not always. So I'll go in the morning for about or two out to our yard grounding and using the sun or expose myself to the sun. That would be between 7 to 8, 8:30, 8:45. And in the evening, I'll make sure that I'm shirtless and having sun around 4, 5, 6. Depends on obviously on the
Then
time
you're
of
not
year.
getting any UVB.
Actually, you are getting UVB, just less. That's another thing.
Well,
When
depends when.
Mhm.
Definitely not in the winter.
In Florida, yes, you're getting it in the winter too.
5 Not at 5 PM though.
No, so that's
Not
what
at
I'm saying. That
sunset.
depends. That 100% correct. That's what I'm saying. It depends on the time of year. But what I'm trying to do is getting that last 30% of the day to absorb sunlight. I'll give you another issue.
But the UVA is also damaging, no?
Yes. So UVA, just to give you a little bit of acronym, UVA, you could think of it as aging, and UVB, you can think of it as burning. Nice. But you could do a few things. You could actually have the best of both worlds. How do you do that? First of all, again, I would not recommend exposing your facial skin, especially, but your skin to the sun between to 4 or even 11 to 3 if you're or even if you're in the winter in Scandinavia, go ahead. Just that doesn't matter, but for the most part. But what you could do is just not expose your facial skin. You have That's not the best skin to expose anyway because it's exposed to the element, to the artificial light right now, to anything that creates stress to the skin. We are not wearing clothes, and something very important to understand: the ability to handle sun damage is predicated on your mitochondria creating ATP. And we know that blue light, we know that 420 especially, lowers the ATP production in your mitochondria. So the more
Mhm.
you're exposed to EMF, blue light, pollution, all of those things, the less you can deal with sun damage. That is why if you have a place that is covered, your chest, your abdomen, your back, this skin is more suitable to dealing with sun damage, more suitable to creating vitamin D. You want to even increase that? Apply lanolin on your skin. You'll double the amount of vitamin D you're producing.
Nice. Okay.
Mhm.
So, get sun on the rest of your body, less so on your face, unless
Or
you want a
face,
wrinkle.
arms, calves, wherever you're exposed to the environment regularly, it's
Yeah.
not as good. By the way, another thing you could do is expose your skin to red light, to like red and near infrared, before going to the sun. That also has shown to mitigate some of the sun damage. So, if you have a red light therapy panel, stand in front of it for 10 minutes before you go to the sun. You're going to get some of that mitigation.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, very interesting. There's a lot of topics we did not get to,
Yeah.
but yeah, where can people find you?
Okay. Instagram, a young_goose_skincare. There's a lot of information there. If someone is I would say like a nerd for those type of things and wants to dive deep, the podcast that you, Joe, were on very recently is called Biohacking Beauty. And that's where we really take experts like Joe, like experts in different fields that have applications in skincare, and basically making sure we unravel that part of good skin health. The website's pretty interesting too. We have a few blogs there. It's called younggoose.com. And I am Amitay Eshel, such as my name, Amitay_Eshel. I write about more esoteric longevity things on Instagram, but if you're interested in that, go for it.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much, Joe. Thank you.
67% of listeners aren't subscribed to the show, so please don't forget to show your support by hitting the subscribe button now. You'll not only be supporting the show, but also investing in yourself and your health journey, all while helping to keep us ad free.